People are just buying constantly. And for people that are holding it, there's just no Bitcoin price that is too high. Like you're trying to escape a collapsing fiat currency, you get on the nearest lifeboat. Then you have the ETFs, and I think this is a big catalyst that has not been tapped into yet. We see a lot of inflows, more so than outflows, but the ETFs effectively remove the barrier to buying Bitcoin that has dampened a lot of prior bull runs. Bitcoiners accumulating regardless of the market sentiment and quantum FUD or whatnot. And then you have fiat collapse. And a lot of people don't understand how easy it is for fiat to collapse, but you just look in recent weeks. Fiat collapse is infinite bid, but we have 7, 8, 9 different things that are pushing to infinite bid. So we've kind of lost our way as a civilization and relied heavily upon fiat and centralized banking systems to handle money for us.
As we prepare for an update on the Clarity Act, scheduled for this Thursday, as well as another government shutdown on the horizon, crypto holders are preparing for a massive January, and major companies like Michael Saylor's firm, MicroStrategy, continue buying. Investors are growing increasingly bullish, heading into the next few months of 2026. However, Samson Mow has issued a warning to all Bitcoin and crypto holders, saying the recent sell-off is only the beginning. According to Mow, a coming Bitcoin tsunami will change the crypto landscape forever. He also discusses what he sees as the inevitable collapse of the fiat monetary system and claims there is a coordinated plan to take over Bitcoin and the broader crypto market. With BlackRock among the largest players entering the space, Mow suggests that this might soon be the least of our concerns, as entire nations are now pursuing Bitcoin. With Bitcoin's current price sitting just under $89,000, still up over 1% in the past month. Mow argues that it's more crucial than ever for nation-states to adopt Bitcoin and integrate it into the global economy before the existing financial system collapses. In this latest interview, he shares his predictions for Bitcoin's trajectory in the coming months and explains why he believes a massive surge of capital is about to flow into the crypto space. Drop your comments down below and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here.
Well, I see adoption on the ground is always increasing, and we're trying to take advantage of that and get them into Bitcoin. A lot of the adoption in the market we're focused on is with stable coins like Tether. So you get Tether and you get Bitcoin. So we're trying to get them into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and we're trying to do it naturally. So give them what they are looking for. They're looking for dollar exposure. You see Bitcoin very prominently, and it's very easy to swap to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin kind of addresses that to almost a detriment for Bitcoin itself, so that a lot of hedge funds and trading firms, they're actually dumping on Bitcoin because it is so easy to sell Bitcoin ahead of market events. Even just a few days ago, right, with Greenland, and then 2 days ago with the Japanese bond yields going crazy and parabolic. So we are the easiest market that everyone can access to hedge or dump. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, but that is why Bitcoin is so amazing, because it is so 24/7, so liquid. The gold and precious metal markets, they're bifurcated. You have spot, which is easy to buy, almost impossible, if not, impossible to sell at market rates. It's almost an eternal September. And now it seems people are suddenly interested in hard assets again. But it's almost like they need to relearn the challenges with gold. And I met a Bitcoiner last year. His journey actually came from gold. So he bought a lot of gold, and then he had a lot of problems selling the gold because, it's easy to get the gold, but how do you get rid of the gold? And he found there was massive amounts of slippage. But when you're selling it, you're going to take a haircut off of that because it is so difficult to deal with that. And people don't know. They're just buying it because it's always easy to buy something. It's hard to sell something. They're easily manipulatable as well. So I think people just have to relearn, and they're going to find out the hard way. They're going to experience the manipulation, or they're going to experience the challenges when they try to sell. And eventually they'll figure out, well, Bitcoin is the better product for storing value. The infinite bid is just entities that will buy forever and
Yep.
at any price point. And there's so many different triggering events for the infinite bid from an array of different entities. But STRC is probably the most obvious one that you can't deny anymore. So you said you don't know what it is. It's
Yeah,
like a preferred stock. I think it's called Stretch from Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy. And it's targeted to be at $100. And it pays right now, I think 11% a year.
Yep.
So if you put in 100,000, you're gonna get 11% of that every year back. And in the US, I think it's a return of capital, so it's tax advantaged. Then it's basically the best yielding product out there on the market. And what it is you buy $100 of STRC, Saylor takes that and buys Bitcoin with it, and effectively strips out the volatility. So you get back that 11% forever in perpetuity. And he takes that to buy Bitcoin, which he thinks will appreciate at 30% a year. I think it's probably going to be closer to 60%. But basically, he's pocketing that 20% difference right there. But if STRC holds at 100, then people will just keep buying it, and it can fund infinite bidding on Bitcoin at any price. Well, there's always a game, right? And this is just a way the world works. Anytime there is an asset that is merged with the traditional system, you're going to have people playing games with it. And you have infinite fiat that can pressure the price and do interesting things, like the 7 a.m. dump that was most of December.
Yep.
Like stuff like that. It can always happen. But the problem for these guys that are trying to control the price is Bitcoin is finite. So you can do it to a point. And I think that point is just an indeterminate couple weeks or months out in the future. And once you're at that point, there's just no return. Like, you can dump the price down and it'll come back up, and you'll never be able to recover or arb that back anyway. It just will take off and it'll just keep going parabolic. So maybe it's the combination of those two things, like natural demand for industrial purposes, plus just the inability or someone's on the wrong side of the trade and they're getting squeezed, that is pushing it up parabolically. But I think with Bitcoin, you reach that point much sooner because there is a limit.
Mow asserts this journey is just beginning, comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment. He also acknowledges that BlackRock's recent entry into Bitcoin will transform the crypto landscape as we know it, as more institutional investors pour in. This dramatic increase in capital will drive Bitcoin's price significantly higher, like we saw in the halving. Mow highlights this being a significant development in the financial ecosystem. The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value, and crypto will be the best performing asset of them all.
That's not the price driver, at least not previously. Like, every time Saylor drops a massive buy and Bitcoin dips, everyone's like, how can that be possible? Like, why? I think it's because the trader, the people with coins on exchange that can move the price up and down, they're taking that opportunity to move the price for their own benefit, because they see, like, Saylor shot his shot already and there's an opportunity there. So if you're trying to dump for whatever reason and you've hedged it, you want to push the price down, that is the most opportune time to do that. But eventually, let's say another strategy comes up, like we have 21 and you have BSTR, there's going to be too much raw demand. Like, one of them is just going to buy the Saylor dips after he announces the purchase on Monday. And maybe there will be a dip after that one, but then the other company will come swooping in. But I don't think people understand the magnitude of the demand, the raw demand, the infinite bid. And they're playing chicken with this. And they're thinking, well, we can push the price down, we can dump it on spot and derivatives and, get it back lower because the market panics. But eventually that all comes to an end. Like, these guys don't understand absolute scarcity, and they're going to.
Is it coming from a position of like short sellers having to cover their losses, like a squeeze sort of scenario? Or are you envisioning it more as kind of a flood of new demand coming in, almost like S-curve adoption sort of thing?
Probably a flood of demand, and it's everything, right? Like, that's all Omega candle fuel. So let's say another country has the currency collapse, and people want to get out, they're going to exit through Bitcoin. And you're going to see that amplify it. And that's going to catch some people trying to push the market down or shorting Bitcoin off guard, and they're going to have to cover. And as it goes up, you're going to see more demand from strategy with STRC, and they're just going to buy at that price. And it's sort of self-reinforcing. So you'll see one Omega candle up, and then you might get another one the next day. But it's all on the we're basically on the precipice now. It's all on the horizon, and any of these things can fire off at any time.
Even though we point to the US and we say, look at everything that's happening there, they've passed legislation, and we sort of outline the long process in which it takes for a country to buy Bitcoin. It's not just about creating an SBR, it's figuring out how you will acquire, how you will custody, because the whole point of having Bitcoin is it's a sovereign asset that you have yourself. If you buy Bitcoin as another country and you just keep it with a custodian in the US, that kind of defeats the purpose. It's like Venezuela keeping their gold in London or something like that. So there's a ton of stuff that countries need to do ahead of that, but they seem to largely not place the urgency upon it, even though the US is moving ahead so much. And I think the US will keep moving ahead, if nothing else, because of necessity, because of the debt and the lack of buyers for treasuries. So we're seeing that they have an SBR and they have approval to acquire budget neutrally. And there is the Bitcoin Act from Cynthia Lummis that is being pushed. And I think there is also legislation for de minimis tax exemptions for spending Bitcoin as well. So there are so many positive developments for Bitcoin in the US right now that it's difficult to not see other countries emulating that. But the US did actually accumulate some Bitcoin. I think they seized another 121,000 Bitcoin. So the US just added. But the thing to keep in mind here is like having a Bitcoin reserve that's largely based on seized assets is a bit dangerous, because the incentives are to go and seize more if they're not buying more. So I think there should be a push to pass a legislation like the Bitcoin Act that allows for not budget neutral accumulation, or perhaps a Bitcoin bond structure where they can sell sovereign debt to buy Bitcoin, which was, I think, presented at a Bitcoin policy event last year. They're called Bitbonds, and the plan was to buy $200 billion worth of Bitcoin in this vehicle. So there are a lot of ways that the US can even move further. Also, we saw a massive amount of liquidations, also largely due to alt speculation over the past 3 days, maybe. I think people were getting liquidated 5 or 6 times, right? The big crash liquidated them, and then they went long again, and then they got liquidated, and then I think maybe some shorted the market, and then we went down again. So it's been a wild ride for a lot of these traders. I think when a lot of this capital is flushed out, that's when we have more solid price discovery and sounder footing to go up on. And I think we got a taste of October, early October. As Bitcoin matures, we're going to see less volatility. And this is a function of the Bitcoin treasury companies, especially Strategy, which has scooped up a large amount, and they are a very consistent, a very reliable buyer.
Samson Mow foresees a looming economic catastrophe driven by collapsing fiat money systems, rampant inflation, and bank failures. He suggests transitioning to a Bitcoin standard. As the world grapples with the impending crisis, he asserts that the promises made by the central banks have been hollow, leading to excessive money printing and a proliferation of poor investments. And with the aftermath of the recent inflation surge, this will not lead to a return to the status quo. The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value. However, this journey is just the beginning. Comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment, with a giant spotlight on Bitcoin ETFs. Mow asserts this being a significant development in the financial ecosystem, selectively measured to create desired effects rather than reflecting the true state of the economy. In this context, Bitcoin emerges as an alternative, detached from the manipulations of the conventional economic sphere. That established corporations like Apple, Amazon, and Google will use their established relationships acquired over decades to swiftly acquire substantial amounts of Bitcoin through a spot ETF, bypassing the cumbersome processes involved in procuring the actual commodity. This disparity underscores the transformative power of cryptocurrencies in traditional financial institutions. Michael Saylor underscores the importance of embracing digital currencies, as the economic landscape is changing rapidly, and urges investors to leverage Bitcoin's potential to secure a more prosperous financial future. What do you think about Samson Mow's prediction for Bitcoin? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.